Good afternoon, students. Welcome to lesson 6.2.2, review and preview. I'm sorry I'm not available to teach this homework lesson for you. I hope that you find it useful today. So we've got 6 problems to tackle today. We're going to start with problem 6-58. Create a large coordinate graph on graph paper and graph the triangle at right. Multiply the y-coordinate of each point by 4, then graph the new shape. Make sure you connect your points. List the points for the new shape. Are the two figures similar? Why or why not? So in your math notebook, you have this large coordinate grid. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by graphing these coordinates. So let's go ahead and graph them. Remember, the first number means side and the second number means up. So I'm going to go right 1, up 3, and I put a point. Next, 4, 2, that says right 4, up 2, and I put a point. Last of all, -2, -2, left 2, down 2, and I put my third point. And this is going to allow me to create this triangle. All right. Now, to follow the directions, it says multiply the y-coordinate of each point by 4. So I'm going to take my y-coordinates, and you don't have to write this down because you're watching the video. Kids who are working on their own probably have to write this down. So I'm going to multiply by 4. Only the y-coordinate. So you're going to have some answers here, 1, comma, and I'm going to do the first one, you're going to do the other ones. 1, 12. Now 1, 12, I'm going to graph this in a different color. 1, 12 goes off the graph a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and put it there. Okay? Now you need to go ahead and multiply your other coordinates, 4, blank, -2, blank. You need to graph those 2 points now. Pause the video and graph those points. Okay, welcome back. Now, you have your graph with 2 triangle-looking shapes. And here's the question. Are these 2 figures similar? And the question is, do they look the same? One is bigger than the other, but do they look like the same triangle? The answer is no. No, they do not look similar. So on your graph, you need to write the sentence, these 2 triangles are not similar because they do not look the same. If you need to rewind that, by all means, go back and rewind that to catch that sentence. But we are going to jump ahead to problem 6-59. Now you just have a large white space. That's totally okay. We'll work on this problem. 6-59. Lashaya is famous for her delicious brownies, which she sells at football games. The graph at right shows the relationship between the number of brownies she sells and the amount of money she earns. How much should she charge for 10 brownies? How much should she charge for 10 brownies? Well, the number of brownies sold, so I'm going from this number 10 up. Okay? Now I'm ignoring this number because that doesn't help me right now. I'm using the number of brownies sold, 10, and I go over right there. And the question is, how much money is that? Now, there might be another way to solve this problem. Maybe you use some information right here that helps you figure that out. But you need to mark question letter A on your paper, and you need to write for 10 brownies, she should charge blank dollars because, and explain your reasoning. All right, you should be done writing your sentence for problem letter A. If you didn't pause, go back and pause. Problem letter B. During the last football game, she made $34.20. How many brownies did she sell? You need to use the graph on the y side of the axis. You need to follow $34.20. That doesn't look like a straight line. $34.20. Well, my line needs to get extended a little bit. And then go down. Okay, and maybe this isn't the only way, because I want you to notice this doesn't say estimate. And right now I'm kind of estimating what this number would be. But that might be good enough for you, might be good enough for me. Go ahead and write a sentence. How many brownies do you think she sold at the last football game? Pause the video to finish this problem. All right, next problem. 6-60. Figure 3 of a tile pattern has 11 tiles, while figure 4 has 13 tiles. The pattern grows at a constant rate. Now, what I really want you to do in this problem is I want you to please draw a table. Now, this table should start with 0, and it should include the number 3 and the number 4. I don't really need 5. Okay? Now, our problem tells us that figure 3 has 11 tiles. So I can go to figure 3 has 11 tiles. Then it tells me figure 4 has 13 tiles. Okay, now I notice my growth. I notice that this graph has a growth of 2. You need to count back so that you can find the beginning value. Once you know the beginning value and the growth, you can answer question A. Question A says, write an equation to represent the situation. Y equals, there's a number that goes in front of X. That number is always the growth. And then you have the beginning value number. This is how you write the equation in most 8th grade situations. I say that because it's linear. Sometimes you get exponential problems, but we don't have that today. Problem letter B. Which figure will contain 1,015 tiles? So what we are going to do is we are going to take your rule, we're going to rewrite it. We're going to rewrite it so instead of the Y, you start with 1,015 tiles. And because we are trying to figure out the letter X, you go ahead and write your rule down here. I'm not giving you the answer. What is the rule? You write your rule right there. Once you know that, you are going to do a side-side flip and a regroup, and you will know the value of X. Pause the video to solve problem B. Alrighty, we're going to go ahead and try problem 661. Normally, the longer you work for a company, the higher your salary per hour. Hector surveyed the people at his company and placed his data on the table below. So if you work 1 hour 1 year for the company, you make $7 an hour. I noticed that 2 is missing, so you got to be careful here. If you have worked for 3 years, you get $8.50. I noticed that 4 and 5 are missing. Here's one that is back-to-back, 6 to 7. This is helpful here because now that I have back-to-back numbers from 6 to 7, I can figure out the growth. Now, in your notebook, you do not have a table. May I suggest that you either make a table or make it a rule? It's up to you. You have to decide, does your brain work better in tables or does your brain work better for a rule? Okay? If you work better in a table, the growth is right here. You can see that it goes up by 75 cents, 0.75. Now, if you are better at tables, you need to make the rest of this table. And you need to go ahead and count it out. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then you need to grow your table by 75 cents. That's going to tell you how long Hector has used this data to estimate how much he will make after 12 years. If you prefer using a rule to figure it out, you're going to have to go back and find the beginning value. Because the beginning value, a new teacher, a new hire, makes less than this. You have to use the growth and count backwards. Once you know the beginning value and the growth, you have a rule. Y equals 0.75x plus the beginning value. That will allow you to say, oh, how much will y be when x is 12? This is you deciding which one your brain prefers. Pause the video to figure out how much per hour he will make after 12 years. All right, problem letter B. Hector is hiring a new employee who will work for 20 hours a week. How much should the new employee earn for the first week? I want you to notice, new employee. We said our beginning value is $6.25. So in problem letter B, if the employee is making $6.25 per hour, and then we're going to multiply it by the number of hours that they work that week. You can go ahead and use a calculator to figure out the answer to problem letter B. Pause the video to complete your answer. All right, let's go ahead and move on to problem 662. Mr. Greer solved the equation as shown below. However, when he checked his solution, it did not make the original equation true. Find the error and correct the solution. I'm going to tell you the first problem is right here. Mr. Greer did not distribute correctly. He correctly said 8 times 2 is 16x. However, 8 times -3 did not get done. So I'm going to distribute that 8 to the -3 to get -24. I need you to go ahead and do a double side-side flip. Then you are going to regroup, and you will know the value of x. Pause the video to solve the equation. All right, let's do our last homework problem. Problem 6-63. The box plot at right shows the different grades in percents that students in Miss Sanchez's class earned on a recent test. What was the median score on the test? Okay. Many students do not know how to read a box plot. When I was a kid, this was called a box and whisker. Notice the box and the whiskers. However, we just call this a box plot, and I want you to notice the center is called the median. What was the median score? You need to write your answer off to the side. A, median. Write the number. What was the highest? What was the lowest? Okay? Did most students earn a particular score? How do you know? Now, this is where understanding a box plot is crucial. You'll notice that this section is really spread out. You'll notice that this section and this section seem fairly similar. Now, a box plot is spread into 25%. These are quartiles. A quartile says 25% in each section. So when you have a really spread out section, that means that your scores are really spread out. When you have a short section, that means that most of your grades are condensed into that section. So in problem B, did most students earn a particular score? Well, I could read this two ways. I could say that there are a lot of students who got between a 74 and an 80. I could also say that, all the students are relatively spread out. It's not that much difference between those two. A 6% spread compared to a 10% spread, not that different. So I could say this section has a particular score, or you could say, no, it's fairly evenly distributed. Your call. Problem C. If Miss Sanchez has 32 students in her class, about how many students earned a grade of 80% or higher? Now this goes back to the quartiles. 32 divided by 4 is 8. That means that there are 8 students in this section, 8 students in this section, 8 students in this section, and 8 students in this section. So how many students earned a grade of 80% and higher? That many. 8 and 8 make 16. How many students earned more than 90%? Well, about 8. So we need to write 80. No, let's write students. Let's see. Greater than 80%. And you got the number 16. And then you're going to write it again, and you're going to write greater than 90%. And the answer to that is 8. How do you know? Mr. McCoy said so on the YouTube video. Question letter D. Can you tell if the scores between 80% and 90% were closer to 80 or closer to 90? Explain. Can you tell a difference in these two sections? No. No, you can't. You cannot determine actual scores unless you know averages, right? Right now, we're just counting the number of scores, and this is not dealing with averages. So the answer to D is no. We cannot get that information from a box plot. No, we cannot get that information from a box plot. Thanks for coming today to today's YouTube lesson on helping you out with homework. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.